Hi everybody, this is Laura, City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Today I have a layout that I created for Best of Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches, Day 25. Today's sketch was created by Page Maps. For this sketch, I'm using a Recollections pad called By the Seashore that I picked up in Michael's fairly recently. The photos that I'm using today have nothing to do with the seashore, but I love the way these papers match perfectly with the colors in the photos. So I decided to just pick out the papers that didn't look super seashore themed. So there were a lot of blues that were in this pad, and there are also some peaches. The peach pattern paper on the bottom of the layout is probably supposed to be gold starfish, but I think that as long as there are no other ocean themed papers or embellishments, they just look like gold stars. In the sketch, there is a border strip going in between the two pieces of pattern paper, so I wanted to do the same thing. I use a Fiskars scalloped punch. In the sketch, the scallop goes the other way. I decided to just make the scallop going down. I attach that strip down between the two different pattern papers that I have mounted on that dark blue piece of pattern paper. So now these are the photos that I'm going to use. These are photo strips, and I'm mounting them on some dark blue pattern paper from that same pad. These were taken on a college tour. My older daughter went to school for American Sign Language interpretation. One of the best schools in the country for that major is Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. And my daughter had gone to camp there a couple of summers. This was one of the two schools she was interested in going to. She ended up going to the other school that she was interested in. It's called Rochester Institute of Technology, but she wasn't sure at this point, so we went to visit Gallaudet, and they had a little photo booth set up. So she and Julia, my younger daughter, they took a whole bunch of photos and they had a lot of fun doing it. I decided to add a circle behind the photos, so I cut a light peach circle of paper out using some Creative Memories circle cutters. I inked the edges using some Distress ink. Usually I use a dauber, but I just happen to have this ink pad handy and it's a little bit dried out, so I decided to just use the ink pad itself to ink some of the edges. So I inked the circle, and then I also inked the edges of the pattern paper behind the photo strips, and I inked those strips at the top and the bottom. Well, there's one at the bottom now, and now I'm going to cut the one at the top to size. I wasn't sure what kind of embellishments I wanted to use, so I wanted to make the most of the pattern paper. So I thought that putting a strip with all of the colors on the layout on the top and the bottom of that large blue rectangle area would help to add a little bit of detail and then a little bit of variety to the layout. So I'm attaching that strip down. And then I wasn't really sure what to do, so I went in with the Distress ink. I believe this is chip sapphire, and I'm inking the edges of the pattern paper. And of course, it would have been a lot easier if I had inked the edges before I attached the photos on, but I didn't think to do that. So I was looking through some gold embellishments that I had, and I found this title. I'm not really sure where I got this from. I'm guessing it was cut out of something, but I'm really not sure. So it says On Point, and I thought that it would be a cute title for this layout. I wasn't sure what angle I wanted to take with this layout. I thought of using some educational type titles, but then I decided that this was definitely a more fun moment, so I thought that this would be the title. So I decided on this. I mounted it first on some peach pattern paper and then on some darker blue pattern paper. And now I'm just making sure that I have it straight on the layout. In the same little mini box that I have my gold embellishments, I found these gold circles. These look like they were punched out of some gold paper. And then I also found the banner that I just placed at the top. So I thought that these would be good embellishments to put on the page, and I liked the highlighting of the gold that was already in the pattern papers. So I attached down these gold circles, and I end up replacing two of them, but for right now they're going to stay where they are. And then I'm also attaching down the banner, and I'm using ATG adhesive and trying to be really careful because it would have been very easy to rip this banner with the ATG gun, but I did manage to get some adhesive on there. I probably could have used a different adhesive that would have been a little bit easier to apply. I stepped away from the layout a little bit because I wasn't really sure how I wanted to move forward. I thought that the circle that was underneath the title was too small, so I used a scalloped punch and I punched out a slightly larger circle out of a different gold embellishment. I also found this little square that has a heart and a bird on it. I think I might have embossed that, but I'm not 100% sure. I've been scrapbooking for 25 years, so occasionally I do forget where I got some of my papers and embellishments from. So I mounted that square on some blue pattern paper, and then I didn't like the way that punched out border looked on the right hand side, so I punched another little piece, attached it down, and then I had punched out yet another slightly larger circle for the right hand side of the title, and I think that those sizes are just a little bit better. I had some gold stars that I got from Joann Fabric, and I really like these stars. I didn't really look carefully at them before I put them on this layout, and I like the way they have a flat back and they're very light, so I might buy some more if I happen to see them. But in any case, I'm adding them to a couple of different places on the photos. They came in two sizes, so I'm using a larger one and a smaller one on both of those photo strips. I'm using some glossy accents to attach them down. And then I was thinking that I could add a little bit of color to the banner by adding some enamel dots. So I add the smallest size of enamel dot between each of the banners. I alternate between peach and white and blue, and I end up taking away that first enamel dot on the left. I just thought that it was a little bit too big, and I liked those smaller enamel dots a little bit better. At first, I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough of those really, really small enamel dots to go all the way across the banner, but I did end up finding enough. And it seems like I always use those really tiny enamel dots first whenever I have a pack of enamel dots. I really wish I could find packs of just those really, really tiny enamel dots. I don't know if they exist, but they would definitely come in very handy. In the past, I used to just struggle along with those little tiny embellishments, and more lately I've been using things like tweezers and small scissors to help me apply them. I don't know why I didn't start doing that sooner. It makes putting those really small things on a layout so much easier. I put a white enamel dot on the heart that's to the right of the title, and then I used some punched out pattern paper circles to cover up the center of those gold foil circles. They're pretty much half circles, but I just thought that there was a little bit too much gold showing, and I like the idea of having a little bit more pattern paper on the layout. I use a few different sizes of my circle paper punches, and I punched out some pattern paper in a darker peachy pink, a lighter peachy pink, and then the darker blue color to cover up each of the centers of those gold foil circles. I used a journaling card and I cut out a little portion of it that says date and place. Now I know the place is Washington, D.C., but I don't have the date. For some reason, I didn't date those photos, and I can find out the date because we took other photos that day, but I just have to search around for it. So right now, the date is going to remain empty. I took that card, I cut it out, and then I mounted it on some pattern paper that's a peachy color that was in the pad. And I'm just going to put that on the top right-hand corner. And when I find the date, I will put that on there. I used a thin black marker to write Washington, D.C. I couldn't really think of anything else I wanted to add to the layout. This is very plain for me. So I finally decided to add one more star to the title, and I think that that kind of rounded out the stars on the layout. And that completes this layout. Here are some close-ups. Thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. I really hope that you enjoyed it and maybe got a little bit of inspiration. I just love Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches because I love the inspiration from all of these gorgeous sketches, and I love seeing the layouts that everybody else created using the same sketch. Please take a look in the description box for a link to the playlist, and I will see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.